All right.
Hi.
Oh, look at your happy little house there. Oh, beautiful.
I know. Yeah. Good background.
Yeah. I really want to tell you, I've been looking forward to this. And I loved our little chat yesterday or the day before, whenever it was.
Right. Yep.
And feel free to dive in anywhere. We'll go about 30 minutes or so.
Sure.
And uh, that's it. My name is Mr. 2020. This is Christina. She's remarkable. She'll share who she is. We're going to have some fun. And I have a dog on my lap now. So where would you like to dance? Where would you like to begin today?
I think one of the things that's really been on my mind lately is this place of I don't know. So
Beauty.
and yeah, it's more of I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
nice.
I feel like it's this state where you get to come back to center, right? And you get to just relax. But then there's this piece of it, you don't want to get stuck there. And am I actually avoiding some kind of perceived pain in being here?
You must have been out by the cottage this morning, 20 minutes ago, when I was recording the podcast. It'll be out in 3 days, but I'll see if I can put it together and get it to you anyway. I love I don't know, and I used to hate I don't know. I love revision, and I used to hate revision. We really get to fall in love with the playground of possibility and knowing I've chosen to enter the playground of possibility.
Mhm.
I have no idea what all rides are there, if there's monkey bars. I have no idea who's going to show up, who I'm going to meet. It's really, for me, I don't know. It's the beginning of everything. It's sort of like whenever we had our chat the other day,
Mhm.
and my first thing was I saw you pop up on Messenger. So got 2 minutes? Yeah. And well, first I don't know. Do I? Yes. So I got to discover, yes, I have 2 minutes. And then I get to discover, what the heck are we going to talk about? Where are we going to go? And having these abilities to go, I choose to accept this desire. How's it going to happen? I don't know.
Mm.
God, it just takes a huge burden off of our shoulders and it puts it into that little red wagon that we can tow
Yeah.
around so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. And this kind of brings me back to you did a podcast a couple of weeks ago, I guess. And you spoke about laying down on the floor. Just to kind of you talked about you were in the middle of you just gotten to Australia, I believe, and you were just in this place of what I gathered was I don't know. And you were
Yes.
laying on the floor for a month.
Yep.
And can you speak about that? And, how did you get to that point?
I would love to. So I spent about a year to a year and a half in and out of Australia on a business visa, on a visitor visa. And my last time entering the country, I had asked Victoria to marry me. And she said yes. So I flew around the world. I gave the last money I had I ordered a ride to the airport and a limousine shows up. And I'm like, wow, I didn't pay for that. And I'm talking with this guy and I found myself wanting to give him all my money. So I did. So now I'm flying around the world penniless. I can't buy food. I have nothing. I'm counting on when I landed, having sales, so I have money at the bank. And I'm going through immigration and I hand them my passport like I have every 90 days for the past year and a half. And the little red light goes off. And they put me into an interrogation box for 3 hours. And after they released me, basically telling me, look, you're not allowed to go to the Forex groups anymore because you were doing coaching there, that you can't do that under your current visa. And you shouldn't even talk to these people because you don't want anything looking like you're doing business in Australia. And so now I'm crushed. I can't talk to my mentor. I can't talk to my people. I can't talk to my friends. I've got Victoria and she goes to work.
Mm.
And I was crushed being a people sorter. All my people are gone. So what do? I don't know. Who do I know? Nobody. And I literally, it was like getting kicked where a guy shouldn't get kicked. I laid on the floor for a month. I could have done it a lot quicker, but I was so lost and resistant to, I don't know.
Mm.
Because at some point I went, what am I going to do? I don't know. And then it hit me.
Yeah.
What got me around the world? What got me through interrogation? What killed me of scoliosis as a little boy? The power of imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, all right, I've got a little email list, about 7,000 people or so, because I gave away 221 free lectures, just give me your email. And I figured, let me bother these people. I'll put up a website and I'll bother some people. I'll make up a product. And the project began.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been the most fascinating ride because it's like, I remember the first big course we made, it was manifestingmasterycourse.com. And I woke up one morning, it's like, what do I want to do today? I don't know. I've been writing a lot. I'd like to make some money, like to make a difference. And I sat on the veranda and I don't know. And it hit me. We've got a little cottage out back. Somebody could actually come to Australia for 90 days on a visitor visa, stay in that cottage, and I could give them a cup of coffee every day and ignore them for the rest of the day. And they could learn what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, right, it takes 15 minutes to drink a cup of coffee. So we made up for 90 days, the amount of time a visitor visa would give you. We'll make up a course. We'll take everything and we'll put it in the best order that I possibly can. What you and I would talk to if you stayed in the cottage and I ignored you for 23 hours and 45 minutes a day. And, which I couldn't do. That'd be impossible. And, because I'm a people sorter and I love you. I love people. So we made up a course and it just snowballed uphill ever since. And it always comes from getting really comfortable with, I accept the desire to teach. That's me. I accept teaching every day. And I keep accepting till I bump into I don't know. And I tell you what, you're one of my I don't knows. And then I'll hand the stick back to you, I promise. Because I decided last week, I want to do another one of these interviews. Who am I going to ask? I don't know. So I just went, all right, I'm just imagining having had done another one of these and it was a lot of fun. Then you poked me and you said, hey, I loved Brendan's. I'm like, cool. You want to do one? Here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Really cool. But as far as like that, was there a turning point in all of that when we talk about the upside and remarkable upside downside. And I guess it's kind of, I feel like I'm waiting for that, being in this place of I don't know. And I see myself where I want to like force it. I want to, thinking in my body wants to say, go look for a job or, do something.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, well, maybe I'll try that. And maybe I'll try that. And it just kind of gets me more overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So being comfortable in this place of I don't know and just allowing for that upside downside to happen. What can you speak on that?
Yeah. So what would have speeded it up and what I do now is so I had to wait 4 years. So I had to get a permanent resident visa. And then I had to wait 4 years to get citizenship. So those are my biggies. How they're going to happen, I don't know. I was having all kind of crazy thoughts, like maybe the queen bestows it on me a little bit sooner, like, I don't know why. But it was just funny. Those are cool little fantasies that got me smiling. But so I nailed citizenship by imagining voting. I hate voting. I'm not into politics, but Australians have to vote or else they send us fines. They can even put us in jail, I guess. How cool is that? If you don't vote, you go to jail. Like, really? I get to hang out with a heroin dealer because I didn't vote. So it's really interesting down here. So I imagine voting and not liking it, which implied I'm a citizen. And meanwhile, it's like, right, what do I want today? This is where Joseph Goddard got to be born. And it's like, what do I want now? Okay, how about a puppy? That'll be fun. How about a car? That'll be fun. All right, how about a car that fucking works this time? That'd be even funner, right? Yeah, the first one was a money pit because I just imagined a car. I didn't imagine a car that I enjoyed, right? I imagined a car would be nice versus imagining a car I adore.
Yeah.
So if I was doing things over again, and I love that we're on video. They won't see the video, but I do. And I see you flourishing with this energy. That energy is either there for you to dance into this desire or to give life to another one. So when we have energy show up before we label it an emotion, once we label it an emotion, then we're going to tell a story about it, and then we can enter into the shit cycle. It's no fun. Yeah. When the energy shows up, we get to apply it to something, and it could be that wish. I don't know. It could be another wish. I don't know. I was when I was still on my. When they let me into the country after interview and interrogation, I got to apply for a bridging visa, and then I could get a permanent resident visa, and then I could get citizenship. So I'm on my bridging visa, which means they could still boot me out, right? They probably won't, but they still can. And I'm going shopping one day, and there's these 3 young bucks outside the shopping center talking shit on Australia, right? And I just want to throw down. It's like, dudes, listen, it's a damn good country. It may not be perfect. In your 16 to 17 years of wisdom, right? Hang out for a while. Go to some places that really aren't all that civilized, where they carry machine guns in the streets, and you'll see a difference. And so when I, as citizen 20, who's not a citizen yet, who doesn't even have a permanent resident visa, the anger of being a citizen at these young bucks, I got to go, right. Where would I? So I want to drop the label of anger. So now I just have energy. All right, I've got energy. What do I want to do with this? Let me manifest up some great deals today and make some friends. And I'd go into the shopping center and I'd get some great deals and I'd start meeting people. And pretty soon, the guy that was isolated on the floor for 30 days, you could ask people like Anya and Grant Monk and Jerry and so on. They've all been here. If you go shopping with me, I know everyone. And I know everyone. And it's just because I took that energy and I imagined friends and great deals on meat. And here we are. Yeah. So we always get to take that energy that shows up in our I don't know and apply it to something else that we want. Or to the dance that participates us. You're an artist. Yes.
I try to be.
Yeah. Yeah. So you do things with your hands, right? Yeah. And so you get to take that energy, and I'll just call it put pen to paper. Yeah. Put paint to canvas. Yeah. Put sketchy thing to all depending upon, we're all artists. Yeah. And when that energy shows up, I made a podcast this morning and I shouldn't have, because I've got 2 ahead and I've got this one, and now I've got 4 ahead. So I've given myself a stack of work, but I couldn't help it. The energy showed up. The idea showed up. And welcome to another exciting episode of the blah, blah, blah. So we take that energy and use it for something, even if it's just in the service of others. And then what we need shows up.
Yeah. And I feel like that's really, it's starting to come around. I'm starting to notice it more
Yes.
in this identity of a storyteller.
Yeah.
And, I'd love to do a podcast, telling stories and particular stories, but it's more about sharing the story. And I realized I have been a storyteller.
Yes.
I tell stories in my paintings.
Yes.
And I also, I love to share stories. 'Cause my past, I was a sommelier and I own my own wine bar and restaurants. And, but I don't really even drink much anymore, but I love the story of wine and I still light up when I talk about the story of wine.
Yes.
And so this has been popping up quite a bit, the storyteller, and things are coming in to support it, books and podcasts, and and I'm not out looking for it. It's just they're just kind of showing up. And
Yes.
that's really cool to notice. And also getting into different mediums of creative mediums of of being able to tell stories as far as, you know, I'm interested in doing these creative pastas because I'm also a cook. So,
Yes. So,
so
so, so,
kind of
so, so,
weaving all these things together.
so you're like Walter Russell. Walter Russell is one of my heroes I don't talk about all that much. He was a polymath. And throughout his life, so there's a book called The Man Who Knew the Secrets of the Universe, or Stole the Secrets of the Universe, or something like that. Really good book. My chiropractor gave it to me back in the States. He said, "This is you. Read this." And I went, wow. One of Walter Russell's stories is they commissioned a sculptor to do the bust of Thomas Edison.
Mm.
They bought him a train ticket and all this stuff. If I got the story somewhere, right? And like the day or two before, the sculptor says, "Nope, not going to do it."
Mm.
Right? So they got Thomas Edison to agree to a bust, and they have no one to do it.
Mm.
Walter Russell gets on the train, closes his eyes, feels into being a sculptor, and becomes a professional sculptor for the rest of his life. He decided to do it with figure skating, poetry, music. He was a polymath. And I love polymaths because what happens is when I'm done writing, I can't write anymore, but I may speak forth. And when I'm done speaking forth, I may go in and just do some body-based kung fu stuff. So, and I've got half a dozen things that I'm a polymath with. I'm just nuts about. And here's what's really cool. You and I can't plan this. Your background, where we're talking from right now, is an A-frame, and it has light coming out of it and lights in front of it. Neville Goddard said, "The state that you return to the most often is your dwelling place." So behind you is a dwelling place with light radiating forth. That's you. And what we came here to do, whenever I'm commenting and I can tell I'm heading to the dark side, that's when I stop typing. Whenever I want to do a podcast and I just want to rant, I don't. I do a little bit. But the thing is, you came here with light, and this light, if you don't let it shine, there's less light in the world.
Yeah.
There's less delight in the world. So you share photos of your stuff, and I go, wow. You asked me for 2 minutes, and I go, wow. Because you're unleashing your light. And when we dance, we unleash our lights. And there's less gray and less doom and darkness in the world. It has to be this way because you are the light of the world. You are the love, the light, the wisdom of God. You are how God has the adventure of a lifetime.
Yeah.
So along the way, I'm imagining being a happy, loving teacher, and I'm broke.
Yeah.
I'm out of money. Nobody cares. So I need to get a job. So I get on to East Park, Connellsville, Pennsylvania, and I do my stuff. And I go home and there's a copy of the Tribune Review on the kitchen table. And I open it up to the help wanted section. You remember the old days? And there's one ad that's glowing gold, like the light coming out of your house.
Mm.
And I went, wow. And it basically is fun and games guy for an old folks home. And I went, that would really suck. Right? I don't like smells. I don't like people dying. They abandon me when they die. Right? I know they don't die, but I still don't like it when people die. I'd rather be able to hug them physically unless they stink, and people in the old folks home stink.
Dying process, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. And so I turned to my wife at the time and I said, what do you see here? And she goes, a newspaper. And I said, what about this ad? She goes, it's an ad. And I said, what color is it? And she looked at me like I had four heads. And I went, oh, no. So she goes, it's white and black. It's a newspaper ad. For me, it was gold and yellow. So called up. I got an interview. I went in and I tried every way I could to screw the interview up, every way possible. At the end of the interview, Eileen, who was the interviewee, she goes, let me give you a tour and get you the hell out of here. So we're walking through the place and she walks up to a corner and there's a lady there. Her name is Thelma. She's in a wheelchair. She's got a restraint on. So she's had 700 strokes. And she goes, I'd like to introduce you to Thelma. And I squatted down and I looked Thelma in the eye. And I said, nice to meet you. How's it going? She says, yeah, I get it. All right. I get it. And it's all right. And she gave me the rest of the tour and booted me out. 3 days later, I get a call. I'm hoping I'm all done with this bullshit. And she says, here she is. This is Eileen, Activities Department, Harmon House. Yeah. She goes, I got a problem. And I said, I think I do too now. She goes, I interviewed so many people, 11 people. Yeah. And only one of them squatted down. And I went, oh.
You got the job.
Yeah, I got the job. And I actually got the job twice, which is another story. But it was an interesting thing because the job taught me how to accept the dying process. So which invited me to notice and celebrate living even more. It taught me how to play with a population that scared me. And it invited me to all kinds of stuff. While I had that job, I imagined I want to do treatment. And I was going to school. I was doing the naturopathy thing on the side and so on. So I was like, I want to do treatment. I want to be respected. That was fun. And one day, the three ladies in restorative nurses cornered me physically. And they said, we got to talk. All right. And they said, she's leaving and we want you to run the department. I said, I'm not qualified. I'm not an RN. And they pulled out a sheet of paper. They'd done their research. If you do these 13 things, you can do it. So I did these 13 things. And for the better part of a year, I ran restorative nursing. While I'm imagining teaching and still doing some teaching on the side. What I learned in those two jobs, I learned a lot of medical through running restorative nursing. And I learned a lot about me and the human condition by being the activities guy. That gives to my practice to this day. And I didn't know that. I tried to avoid it. When they hired me back, I tried to avoid it again. It was just funny as hell because I don't know. As we are God having the adventure of a lifetime, and as we go on these journeys that we have, wow, I would have never guessed that working for about 2 years in an old folks home would give to my practice 25 years later.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is wow. Wow. And I actually had a somewhat similar situation last year, 6 months ago, when I had been looking for a job, what I feel I'm qualified for. And I've always done large scale events, creating large scale events. And I was looking for jobs directly related to my skill set. Nothing.
Yeah.
And I was applying to like 10, 15 a day, and I was having fun doing it. I was really looking forward to these positions and
Yeah.
just nothing. And then
Right.
one day I follow this artist and she was having a workshop. She does these retreats, and um, all of her retreats were booked up except for this one at the Omega Center in
Right.
upstate New York. And I just went and looked at this workshop, see if I could get in, possibly take some classes with her. And I see this ticker at the top of the website and it said seasonal position.
Nice.
And so I looked at that and I was like, this is interesting. Let me just check it out. So I opened it up and I see this position for faculty support. And I was like, this is interesting. And it's through event services, and it's basically supporting all of the teachers who come in and do workshops for 6 months. So this is a seasonal position. You live there and you work there in community. And I thought, oh my gosh, no way. I couldn't do that. There's no way I could live in community. I'm, in my 50s. I can't go back to like dorm living. No way. But
Nice.
I looked at this position. I was like, this is so me that I'm just going to apply. Let's see what happens. So I applied. Within a week, I got a call. And I imagined this would be an easy process. I didn't want the normal, you know, interview process that.
Right.
So it was conversational. We had an amazing talk. And he invited me to the second interview which would be my boss. And I got the job. But all the time I was like, there's no way I can do this. Living in
Right.
community, how is this going to work? And I decided to just let all of that go and be open. So I didn't find any details out about this place. I didn't want to know any details.
Beauty.
I just walked in. And this experience has changed my life. It was transformative in that it opened me up to a whole new world that I never knew existed,
Yes.
as far as the job world and the living in a community.
So
And
you managed. So that there's that chart from January, the rational magical chart.
yeah,
And rational will ration out everything. And as Neville would say, it's only the interference. We need rational. Rational has me plug my headsets in and be here at the appointed hour with you.
mhm,
But magical is why we do it and how it actually happens. And your rational will go, I don't know, dorm living, 50s, blah, 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 cat, and so on and so forth. And magical goes, poof. Yeah. As the magical stardust falls, and then we can see through the clouds to the stars and the sunshine in the sky. Suddenly, the beautiful thing with all of this, so I had been doing Native American skill and wisdom classes for a couple of years in Pennsylvania. Rub two sticks together and make fire. You've probably seen that video, tracking the edible
yes,
medicinal plants and so on.
yep,
And one day I go to the pawn hut. Right, my buddy Dale runs the pawn hut, and that's basically where addicts go and sell the shit they stole. And I hadn't talked to Dale for years, and one day my lawnmower went missing, and I called him up and I said, Dale. And he goes, shit, because he knows my voice. And I said, any chance? And he goes, I'll get back to you. And he got me a lawnmower, right? And we became friends because we became friends again. So I'm teaching all these classes and every now and then stopping out at the pawn hut. One day he goes, there's a guy out here you want to meet. And I went out and this fellow's name was Hawk. And Hawk was organizing for a group of Lakota Indians to come out because we had a white buffalo in Fayette County. And Hawk's like, I need some help. I need some money. So I went to my Remarkable group at the time. And I think Tim Norman was there. We'll have to ask him. And I said, hey, anybody want to contribute? And we raised like $1,200. Guys all around the world that are learning what I'm teaching gave $1,200. And I gave it to this fella. And in this group of Lakota Indians, medicine men, and pipe carriers and stuff, they get in their little shit buggies and drive across the U.S., right? From Lakota land, wherever they're at in there. And they get here and they want a bodyguard. Well, all right. Well, I'm highly trained. I can legally carry a weapon in Pennsylvania, and I'm into the Indian stuff. The next thing you know, I'm spending a week with these guys in very intimate settings, almost 24 hours a day. There's a video of the one fella speaking on Facebook about the white buffalo. And at one point he cracks a joke. You can hear me laugh because I'm right next to him. If he's the president, I'm the Secret Service. And you can hear me laughing in the background. And I'll never forget this because what I gleaned from that week and that weekend event, changed my life. Mm-hmm. And it happened because I was teaching a little group called Remarkable. Mm-hmm. And these guys were willing to put some money down so I could help this guy who I'd never met. His name was Hawk, so that we could bring a bunch of Lakota elders across the U.S. in their shit buggies. Mm-hmm. And we could at 3 a.m. be talking about all kind of shit. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's these weird and weak connections that the magic that we are weaves the tapestry through. Yeah. It's crazy. And here you are, you went to Omega and you're in the I don't know zone right now. Yeah. And you can play in so many ways, and we don't know who from that adventure or who from any other adventure will give to your next adventure. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Wow.
It is really cool. And that is what keeps me sane, I guess, rather than going off the deep end and spiraling with anxiety, is that I know this is how it is. I know in my being.
Yes. Well, rational has to do with, we've got that model from manifestingmax.com where we talk about head, heart, and belly. Yeah. And in head, we want to organize and linearize everything. Yes, no, good, bad, right, wrong, step, step, step. And head's good at that, right? Yes. Heart, on the other hand, just wants to feel anything. Mm-hmm. And I'm gesturing with a circle in my hands because that's how the blood moves through the heart. Boom, 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 boom. And when the blood actually moves through the veins, it's spiraling as well, which is fascinating. Because if the blood didn't spiral in the veins, it wouldn't be magnetic. And if it wasn't magnetic, it couldn't move through the veins and arteries, which is why veins and arteries are next to each other, according to current science. And then we've got the belly, which breaks down everything and reorganizes and unleashes everything. So at least two parts of us, the heart has to do with spirals and circles. And we always get lost in spirals and circles. Let's fall in love and see what happens. Wow. And then we've got the belly breaking things down and reassembling and unleashing in its own ways. And linear says, I want to know what's next. Yeah. I want to know what's best. I want to know what's better. Oh, we get so lost there. And the heart and the belly just say, right. Up. You don't ever pay attention to your heart. And your digestion's going on 24/7 too. And it's so lovely to be able to know my job is to fall in love and digest. The head will take care of things as they show up. But my job is to also fall in love and digest, to unleash.
Digest.
Yeah. It's funny, the smallest thing that we have in our bodies that digests, from what I've read, is our mitochondria. Mm-hmm. They're those little nuclear power plants inside of every cell. Mm-hmm. And How fascinating is that? Uh, boom, boom. We don't, I can't, I feel a constant buzzing. Maybe that's the mitochondria or something else. I don't know. But it's a fascinating thing that the way we get to live with this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how else shall we dance? I got another 10 minutes or so if you want to
Okay.
keep going.
Sure. I think what was interesting to me was you were talking about how you were manifesting, the imagining a vehicle and it wasn't quite the vehicle. And so something interesting that happened the other day, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, couldn't
Beauty.
sleep. And I popped on the Neville Goddard Simplified Your Book.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Okay.
I think it
Nice.
was the volume 3. Is that it? Yeah. And it's talking about uh, the different states and the eternal state
Yes.
and the creative states. And
Uh,
what I noticed was, wow, okay, so we have all of these eternal states, and we create our states. We have the ability to create states.
yes.
So how do they weave together, and what exactly are these eternal states? Can you explain
Beauty.
that more?
So let's say an eternal state just might be something vague like healthy.
Mhm.
A year ago, I was still walking with a walking stick, taking some painkillers. Things were getting a lot better, but still it hurt. Ow, 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 ow. Right. Every step had an ow built into it. And it wasn't as bad as it was 3 years ago, but it was still hurting. So health is a universal state. I just want to be healthy. Uh, my Christmas Day epiphany had me realized I was remembering when I was fighting fit.
Yeah.
You hear the energy? I like being fighting fit. I like being able to take my foot in slow motion, touch your right face, touch your left face, just hold it up in front of you and wiggle my toes and then put it down for fun. I liked that. It was fun. And chicks digged it too. So it's like, that was fun for me as a teenager. And I went from being the teenage bedwetter to the teenage black belt, by moving into the state of fighting fit. Yeah. And I thought, wow, I'm in a state called feeling fat and remembering when I was fighting fit. Let's just change that identity. And I did what we teach, and I did it at earbasemanifesting.com, grass commercial. And within milliseconds, I was a different human. I
Yeah.
became fighting fit. Now, that was an old state that I re-accessed. And almost instantaneously, what started emerging was fighting fit fleshitarian. This is a state that I've made up.
Yeah.
It's a creative state, in that, you know what I'm into? Eating flesh and fat cooked by fire. You know what I'm into in conversation? Conversations that have flesh, fat, and fire. In other words, I want you to show up.
Mhm.
I want the flesh and the fat of you in a conversation and the fire that we share.
Mhm.
So fleshitarian is not just what I eat, it's my entire way of being.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I've managed to make up fighting fit fleshitarian. And we're going
Mhm.
to have products and hats and stuff soon. It's transformed my body. It's unleashed who I am. But it really all began with, I just want to be healthy.
Yeah.
What do I don't want to be? A fucking burden for her. Because if I continued down the path I was on a year and a half ago,
Right.
even though I was making progress, I'd be making progress and getting older. And we all know how that goes. Versus I've transformed in the past 11 months.
Yep.
And this is the key right here.
Yeah.
Whenever we can access one of those eternal states, I just want to be rich.
Yep.
I want to have rich relationships, universal states. And then it's like, rightio, I go to the pool and everybody knows me. I go to the shops and everybody knows me. I, if I go down to creative level, how do they know me? What do they know me as? I get to just let it become so personal. And that might be the key here.
Yeah.
There's like universal, which often is related to a problem. But whenever we let it be personal, you want to share your stories. You want to share your arts. You want to share, God, you got 50 years of stuff in this lifetime worth putting out there. That's personal.
Yeah.
And
Well,
if I was
yeah.
rewriting that book, I would make it about, there's universals and there's personals.
Mm.
And there's so much power in personal.
Yeah. I think that's where I feel. So what came out of this was, and I love what you just shared, because I discovered the other day that I have been living, I'm remembering when I had a home, and I've been living in that.
Yep.
Just remembering when I was home. And I'm kind of been bouncing around, of course, living in community. That was a home for me for 6 months, but it's temporary. And so I also went back to what Neville experienced when he was trying to go home from the military, to leave the military and go home.
Yep.
He looked around his apartment and, he imagined his apartment and everything in it, feeling it. And so the last home that I had, my own home, was the one that I sold in 2020. So it's no longer
Yes.
there. So when I imagine, I'm seeing that home, but it's not the home because I don't really know where and what
Yes.
my home is. Would I manifest that? I mean, what does that kind of
Cool.
go backward?
So one of the things which I did, we did a call on remembering when.
Yeah.
And in there, what I explored was, remembering when I was fat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I no longer own being fat. I own having been.
Mm.
So I can in your share, can you remember when you didn't own a home?
Mm.
And remembering when you didn't, it allows you to remember when you were single
Mm-hmm.
by imagining you're married.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm remembering when I didn't have a home. And I live using problems. And now I've got to pay taxes, get recorded,
Ah.
or insurance once a year. We're heading into that season for us here.
Yeah.
And it's one of those fun things where I like, God, I can remember when I rented. Life was simpler in a way, but I had to get approval and everything. On the other hand, ownership.
Yeah.
I go to the pool and I come home and I pull into the driveway and I look over and I experience ownership.
Mm.
So here's a biggie. This is a real biggie. So I'm in the cold water pool the other day. I swim a little bit on my off days and I do some kung fu drills in the cold water for 30 minutes. And I've got my pool noodles and my water bottle sitting up on the wall right next to me. And these two little kids come up and one of them swipes a noodle. And I said, yo, hey buddy, bring it back. Right. He's gone. All right. He's ADDD and that's fine. So his mom comes along and she's ADDD too. And I say, can you have him bring my noodle back? Noodle. Yeah. The little boy is yours. Yes. Little boy is yours. Noodle's mine. Right. So we do all that. So the next day I'm there and this little kid comes up and I realized, what did I do, quote unquote, wrong to make that so complicated? And what I had was the feeling of problem.
Mm.
I need that to come back here or else I got to go wrestle your little kid for it. Right. That's not going to be nice. But on the other hand, The next day, another little kid comes up to take my noodles. And Victoria and I have been talking about this cool thing called ownership. And this kid comes up and she grabs my noodle and I looked at her and said, mine. I just felt I owned that noodle. And she goes, sorry. I said, it's all right, sweetheart. There's one over there for you. Thank you. And off she goes. But I experienced ownership instead of problem.
Mhm.
And being willing to go, when I had my BMW at the end, it was becoming a problem. So I go to David Brown Mechanical and I said, David, what am I looking at? 3 months or 2 years before I got to put money in? And he goes, you could do 3, maybe 6 months, but you got to put money in. I said, all right, not doing it. And he goes, what are you going to do with the car? I said, if you want it. He goes, yep, take it. Right. What do you want for it? Give me whatever I want. Let's do a trade. So I've got store credit. Bimmer's gone. But I allowed myself, instead of getting stuck on the problem of BMW, to experience the feeling of ownership. And one day while I'm walking into the pool, I passed the closest parking space because upside said, keep going. So I kept going and I parked the car. I'm talking to Victoria on those Ray-Ban glasses. And I get out and I see this Mercedes. I've been looking at Mercedeses for months on Facebook.
I love that.
And it's like, and there's so many different Mercedeses and they all got letters and numbers and I get confused because I'm a people sorter, not a number sorter. And I see this car and I go, wow, I like you, this car. It's a CLK 320. I take these photos. I'll show you. And I go in the pool and my friend Jim, he comes into the pool. He always gives me the Mercedes magazine because he knows I love Mercedeses and he's a Mercedes guy. And he says, have you found a Mercedes yet, 20? And I said, no, not yet, Jim. Still looking. I saw one I really liked. Still looking. So I break off with Jim and I bump into my buddy Rod. And Rod and I talk about sourdough and balsamic vinegar. Neither of those what I eat, but I appreciate them. And he goes, did I hear you talking to Jim that you want a Mercedes? I said, yeah. I said, do you have a Mercedes? He goes, yeah. So you want to sell it? He goes, I do. Sweet. Handshake, 77 minutes after I sold the car. Now here's the funny thing. I didn't know that was his car when I saw it in the parking lot. He goes, would you like to see it sometime? I said, I'd love to see it sometime. I'm buying a car without knowing what it is. But here's a guy who I know, love, and trust, and I know he'll treat me right. So he goes, it's out in the parking lot. I went, all right. And sure enough, it's that car. So I bought that very same car. I don't know what kind of Mercedes you want. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And I'm so comfy with I don't know that when I see it, I go, bing. That's my kind of car. And well, it turns out that that's the very car. Yes.
I think that's so beautiful. This is that being okay and comfortable in that I don't know place, because you could have gone the route of, in the rational and said, I need a car. I need a car.
I need a car. I need to know. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm going to look every day at the auto auctions or whatever and the ads, and I'm going to look and I'm going to find it. It's going to be there and I better grab it before that one's gone. But you didn't do that. And
I did a little bit of that.
A little bit.
and I kept going, nah. And then I'd go back and I'd do a little more and I go, nah. Because we can all get sucked in.
Does it exhaust you?
We can get sucked into rational and it's exhausting because it's rational. And when I said no more, and I told Victoria, I said, I got to go in a few minutes. I told Victoria, I'm going to buy a car within 5 Ks of home from a reputable dealer or somebody who I know, love, and trust. And of course, everybody thinks I'm nuts because there's no BMW or there's no Mercedes dealer. There's no car dealers within 5 Ks. And so, which means I have to buy the car from somebody who I know, love, and trust. Turns out it's Mr. Sourdough.
Here's to Mr. Sourdough.
Here's to Mr. Sourdough. I got to go before the garden guy gets here. How would we like to button it up?
I think that was pretty good, actually, as far as like bringing it back around to the I don't know. And
yes.
I just think that it is a place to be okay in.
Yes. We get to
Fall in love
discover.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah. When we allow ourselves to be okay with I don't know, that allows us to open up to a life that is intoxicating.
Mm.
In other words, then we start to do what we did in Dream Driven Day, where it is a fragrant odor.
Mm.
So when people suddenly, wow, you're the perfect fit. Here's the perfect place. Boom. It can't help but happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Christina, I want to thank you so much for your
Thank
time
you.
today. I'll get this up in the next couple of days. I'll let you know. You'll see it in the Remarkable group and elsewhere too. And this has been an absolute thrill and pleasure
Yeah.
for me. I love that you've got your A-frame behind us. Your light is shining from your dwelling place. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
May
you look
you have,
wonderful. You look amazing. And I love your transformation over the year. It's been
yeah, thank you.
really, you look great. Yeah.
I think the number one thing, we settled for personal development and progress. And that's okay. But there comes a point in time where we get to be willing to, instead of going self-improvement, personal development, we get to just open up to the tango of transformation. And that's what got you into Omega.
Mm-hmm.
That's under your terms. And that's what will get you to the next place.
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, my writing may improve, my storytelling may improve, but it's the transformation behind it all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I so love and appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Love and appreciate you too. Thank you so much.
See ya.
Bye.